Oh yeah, getting a real good rhythm on this cat. Hello all of you little demons, Jules here for WhatCulture.com, back again with another episode of the awesomely named and awfully hosted Choose Your Own Adventure, the weekly medieval themed format where I, the crown jewels of WhatCulture.com, take a list chosen by you. Yes, you, the person that spent about an hour and a half trying to build a cat house for your lovely kittens, only for them to actually get more enjoyment out of the bloody box that it came in. Yes, you get to decide what list I dole out to you each and every week. And this week we have none other to thank than Kaleem Malik for their suggestion of video games that we bought because we were so enamoured with the mini-games that were included. And here's the thing, a mini-game is a beautiful distraction from the main narrative, and while it's not something that we would normally buy a game for, sometimes they can be so good that they can actually offshoot and become their own game franchises. I mean, I'm looking at you, Gwent. Stop stealing my time. Stop it. You're naughty. So let's take a look at some more of them today, shall we? As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 video games you bought just for a mini-game. And you know the drill by now. Say hi to me here in the live chat and also give me your suggestions for next week's episode down in the comment section below. With that said, let's get on with the list. Number 8, Pocket Circuit Racing, Yakuza 0. So something deep within me stirred when I came across the Pocket Circuit Racing side event / minigame in Yakuza 0. Something that reminded me of my childhood, because suddenly I was transported all the way back to my youth when I still had hair and my parents were still together, and I was playing Scale Electrics. Do you remember that? The little electric cars you put on a little track and you just zoom it around, and then all of a sudden you're about 10 minutes in, you're like, what's that smell? Why is it burning? This is definitely a fire hazard. Let's keep going. And thanks to Yakuza 0, I could relive this experience all over again. However, before you write this off as a mere distraction, as many things in the Yakuza series, things aren't always what they seem, as this is an incredibly deep and rewarding game that you can lose absolute hours to. Being able to customize your car means that you are encouraged to explore the game world looking for rare parts and fishing for them in vending machines around the town. And then with your custom built beast, you can race for some pretty decent rewards and, surprisingly, a really emotional subplot starring a down and out champion who has a really, really heartfelt backstory. I wasn't expecting this. I wanted to just race and scream across the track, but now I'm feeling things. Ew. Plus, the tracks that you race on are absolutely insane, and they have so many loops that even Sonic the Hedgehog would look at them and just be like, oh, no, I'm feeling a bit sick from looking at that. And best of all, if you lose, obviously, just show the clip of what happens when you lose. It's so dramatic. Number 7, Zombies, Call of Duty World at War. So in the grand old debate over which is the best Call of Duty title, I do feel that World at War gets pretty criminally overlooked. I mean, admittedly, Modern Warfare 1 and 2 are absolute masterpieces, and Black Ops was incredibly good as well, but still, this did a lot and seemed to get very little in return. From the incredibly visceral and sometimes unsettling main narrative to the always engaging multiplayer, World at War was an utter blast. But let's face it, one mode shone above all others, and that was the Zombies mode. When you look at how incredibly popular this game mode is now, it's almost bizarre to think that this was thrown in as a last-minute joke by Treyarch after they finished work on the main game. With an incredibly simple concept of just surviving against waves of the undead, this hooked players immediately, and soon it became a direct challenger for the most hours played across all of the modes. The brilliant gameplay loop of ever-increasing waves of enemies, scarce ammunition, and the ability to use points to buy better weapons, it just created something so utterly sumptuous that the chef's kiss, it's going to do the dangerous one. Remember when I nearly choked myself when I did the chef's kiss there? It's dangerously close to doing that, but I'll try and keep it restrained. It was absolute bliss. Number 6, Mortal Kombat Armageddon. So Mortal Kombat Armageddon is pretty much the literal gaming definition of throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. I mean, there was so much to do here. You had an incredibly deep conquest mode, which was like the single-player narrative. You could create your own fighters. The roster was absolutely swollen. And in between all of this, you could unlock a bloody kart racer. What? I remember looking at the screen when I'd unlocked this, just thinking it was going to be like a tiny and tatty minigame and maybe just have like one track with like 2 races. But then I was blown away by the fact that this is, dare I say it, a genuinely pretty competent kart racer. I mean, true, the cars handle a little like they're on ice at all times, but then again, if you play as Sub-Zero, you could just do some meta role-playing with it, so I guess that's something. But you cannot deny the sheer, utter enjoyment of using the game's bump buttons, which is basically like a ram feature, to just slam the likes of Katana into a lava fire pit. It's absolutely hilarious, and the best part of it all, you weren't expecting such a decent amount of content in an already stuffed-to-the-gills game. What a bargain. Number 5, Triple Triad, Final Fantasy VIII. Listen, I know tons of you, myself included, are already still unbelievably hooked on Gwent, so much so that we might actually need to check into rehab if we're ever going to move on from that, but still, slightly older gamers like myself will remember that this is barely a drop in the ocean compared to the absolute hook that Triple Triad had on your soul and your nuts. How could such a simple card game dominate the moody, broody squalls and emo doody experience that was Final Fantasy VIII so defiantly? Well, for a start, it's because everyone and their time-travelling wife play the bloody game, and secondly, it's because it's so utterly brilliant. Collecting rare cards from chance encounters with NPCs, building a blistering deck, and then battling against a rule set that actually followed you from continent to continent, and of course, that music made this an utter joy. And in some cases, the main story would just take an absolute backseat as you whiled away your days playing this absolutely addictive card game. In fact, things got pretty bad at some point because you could actually synthesize some of the cards to get rare items to make your ultimate weapons, right? I refused to do this, which meant that I was preferring a deck of cards in a game, in a mini-game of the main game, over actually completing the story and doing it so in an overpowered way. Yeah, I might have had a problem. This was definitely like plastic crack in digital form. Digi-crack? No, that sounds like a really bad digital monster. Digimon, digital monsters, Digimon are the crack. Anyway, I'm getting off point, but this has given me an idea for a musical interlude. So, gentlemen, Osley, are you ready? James, I remembered to introduce you this week.
It was a bit, upsetting you forgetting us. Me and Osley had a little bit of a cry, but we're all right now, and, people make mistakes.
Do you play a lot of card games, James?
Yeah, it's like a kid. I'd play like Uno or something like that, and then like now I play President with my girlfriend Jazz. President Jules. That's quite a fun little game. And then Blackjack.
Sorry, I was thinking of something else then. I was thinking of just a paint drawing. It was more interesting than listening to you. And I'm going to wear my headphones for this bit because James tells me I have an awful inbuilt sense of rhythm.
Jules, you have a terrible sense of rhythm.
Fantastic. Why does it get so depressing there? I never understand this bit of the song. It's just like you're playing a card game. You're meant to be having fun, and then all of a sudden it's just like existential dread. Number 4, the special events Flat Out franchise. For those of you not in the know, the Flat Out franchise champions one thing above all others, and that is total and utter destruction. But the car that you're in and the very tracks themselves are blank canvases for you to smash headlong into, churning up dirt, trading paint and acting like a pretty good PSA for seatbelt use as you fling your driver through the windscreen over and over. Now, they're not the best video games by any stretch of the imagination, but the mini-games on offer in these titles, well, they're actually pretty decent. You can fire your driver straight out of the windscreen to see how far you can get them. You can try and get a hole-in-one on a sort of demented mini-golf course, but the best one, hands down, is in Flat Out 2, where you can do the high jump. This lets you scream down a ramp and then fire your driver up as high as you can. Watching the poor avatar T-pose their way to their deaths is morbidly hilarious, and yet I can't stop doing it. Look at him go. Look at him go. Number 3, Bloodbath Challenges, Mad World. Now, I think that everyone the world over raised a collective eyebrow when it was announced that Mad World, which was an uber-violent, over-the-top action spectacle by Platinum Games, was going to be released on the Wii. Nintendo's tiny family-friendly console sure got a lot of blood over its white exterior with this one, as Mad World pulled no punches whatsoever and proudly asserted itself as the king of the corpse pile for a long old while. That was until Manhunt 2 arrived. What was with this system and uber-violent games? While the main game was bloody good and bloody fun, there was actually a brilliant minigame-esque diversion for players to take part in. Known as the Bloodbath Challenges, these violent bursts of entertainment tasked the player with eliminating enemies in certain ways. From throwing them in front of trains, feeding them into jet engines, or just smashing enemies' heads through rings using only a golf club, these experiences managed to perk up the player lest they become bored of the endless killing of the main narrative. I mean, it's still killing at the end of the day, but now it's dressed up in a fun package. Ooh, I can just sort of feel the ire of parents and politicians the world over as I said that sentence. Number 2, Mercenaries Mode, the Resident Evil franchise. Now, while it would be very wrong of me to state that anyone purchased the likes of Resident Evil 3 or 4 based on the fact that you would get the Mercenaries Mode in alone, that doesn't deny how utterly engaging and addictive and incredibly successful this mode is. In fact, it's gone on to spawn its own game for the 3DS, and it's bloody brilliant. Introduced in its rudimentary form with the 4th survivor in Resident Evil 2 and then expanded upon in Resident Evil 3, it was in 4 and 5 that this minigame truly hit its stride. Here the player was locked into a small combat arena with only one goal: survive for the allotted time. Sounds simple, right? Well, in this instance, it is, but when you add in the fact that killing enemies gives you more time, the fact that there are combo chests that you can unlock that give you insane high scores, tons of characters to unlock, some of which were totally unplayable in any other mode, and a brilliant mentality of just one more go, and you have one of the most addictive and brilliant modes in any of the Resident Evil franchise. Now, Resident Evil 5 might not have ticked everyone's boxes, but the Mercenaries mode here? Well, I lost more hours to that than I cared to admit, and I was absolutely over the moon when the gold edition of this game added in the Mercenaries Reunion mode, which let you play as Barry Bloody Burton. And one of his special moves, one of his melee close combat things, was called the Jill Sandwich. How can you not love this? How can you not love this? So in fact, I can actually say that I bought this game for the minigame alone because I saw it advertised, the gold edition, and I bought it specifically for that, even though I had the original one. So yes, technically it fits this list. Yes! I win! And number 1, Metal Gear Solid Snake Escape, Ape Escape 3. If there is a video game franchise out there that is guaranteed to make me go bananas at any given moment, it is the Ape Escape one. These games are so utterly joyous and carefree and cutesy. I absolutely adore them. But one mode that made me go absolutely ape was found in Ape Escape 3, because it was a crossover with Metal Gear. I'm speaking, of course, about Metal Gear Solid Snake Escape, a brilliant pairing of Metal Gear Solid and Ape Escape. And if that sounds like an insane combination, then do not worry, my friends, we're only just getting started. This minigame, if you can even call it that, seeing as it's legitimately full of its own meta content, sees you piloting Pico Snake as he tries to stop a lazy cannon from being fired by a group of badass bonobos. What this boils down to is a surprisingly faithful rendition of the Metal Gear formula, but housed within the Ape Escape engine, sneaking around snowy vistas, distracting guards, and then going absolutely ape on them to steal their ID tags is an absolute blast. And thanks to the sheer depth of this offering, you might be playing this and thinking to yourself, well, is this not actually the main content of the game because it's that good? It's over like an hour and a half long if you go and find all the secrets and stuff like that. That's brilliant for a minigame, and it's so endlessly replayable. And if that did not sell you enough, then just look at the intro screen and the dancing monkeys. Need I say more? And there we go, my friends. That was 8 video games that you bought just for the minigame. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below, and put down your suggestions for next week's episode there as well. And thank you for all those joining me here in the live chat. If you want to chat to me further, you can do so over on Twitter at RetroJ, or you can swing by Live and Let's Dice. I do loads of board games, video games at the moment. I'm doing a run of BPM. If you don't know what that game is, it's basically Doom meets Crypt of the Necrodancer. It's brilliant fun, and I'll be streaming it every Wednesday and potentially some Sundays as well. So I hope to see you over there, my friends. Lovely to see you. As always, I've been Jules. I hope that you are having a great day and treating yourself well, both mentally and physically, because you deserve love, my friend. You deserve love, happiness, and success. I know I bang on about this, but it is bloody well true. And do not let anything or anyone else tell you otherwise, okay? You're a massive ledge. Now go out there and absolutely smash it. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, my friends. And I'll see you next week. Peace.